Hey guys, welcome back to the Foolish Show. Of course, I am Foolish Phil. If you like this video, please hit the like. If you really like it, hit that subscribe. I wanted to give you a few of my foolish thoughts on Michigan's news today. Both Mousa Diabate and Caleb Houstan have decided to stay in the NBA draft. Today being June 1 was the cutoff day for players that had declared for the draft. They could stay in the draft as Diabate and Houstan have done, or they could withdraw their name and potentially go back to the same college or, the transfer portal or whatever. So, the news obviously out is that both players, Houstan and Diabate, are going to stay in. Now, I'm not surprised at all out of, I guess, in hindsight. First off, when I knew that Diabate and Houstan were going to go to the draft, combine and all that, or explore the options, I thought, okay, Diabate I could see going because of his physical gifts. And Houstan, I thought, would put his foot in the water and come back. Obviously, Houstan, as speculation is spreading rapidly and has been for a while, I'm not breaking any news here, he must have gotten some affirmation or some guarantee from a team that he would be drafted in the first round. Lots of speculation that is Oklahoma City, who has 3 first-round picks. So he came out and said he's going to stay in the draft. Not a shock. Mousa Diabate, physical gifts like crazy, and even though he's not on any of the mock drafts in the first 2 rounds, it's highly believed too that he will be drafted by a team and go get a guaranteed contract to play in the G League, and he's going to take most likely that avenue. And don't get me wrong, I totally understand it. You have 2 guys who were coming in as 5 stars. They had most likely thoughts of grandeur, that they would be NBA stars. So one, you cannot fault Caleb Houstan. If you're going to be a first-round draft pick, fine, go. Diabate, you know what? Maybe you don't want to play basketball anymore in college. You know what? Maybe you got sick of playing school, going doing the classes and everything. When you are just thinking, I'm going to go pro, those classes and the practices that go along with it, before and after classes stuff, I think that could be a real drag. You also have to, again, reiterate the name, image, likeness problems that Caleb Houstan and Mousa Diabate would have, being foreign-born players on, NCAA visas. They're not able to get the money. There's ways around it, but Michigan doesn't seem to really want to do that, yada, yada, yada. Anyways, I would ask you this. I heard this, so I'm not the first one to think about it this way. But if you knew that out of the 3 players, Diabate, Houstan, and Hunter Dickinson, one of them was going to come back, which one would you prefer to come back? To me, it seems pretty obvious. You would want Hunter Dickinson to come back. He had an All-American freshman year. He had a solid sophomore year. And now he's coming back for his junior year. That's just... Don't get me wrong, I like Houstan, I like Diabate, but if I could only choose one of the 3, I'm definitely taking Hunter Dickinson. Now, we would have loved to see Diabate and Houstan develop. We would have loved to see them progress. Maybe Houstan could have been a top 10 draft pick. I don't know. Maybe Diabate would have been a first-round draft pick after the next year. We don't know. It's all speculation. But that does put Michigan in an interesting spot. Now, they officially have 2 open scholarships. Now, there are a couple names that I've been seeing floating around, and I'm just wondering what you guys think. Does Michigan have to replace Diabate at the 4? Like, Terrace Reed obviously could come in and play the 4. Or does Michigan have to go out and get another big body to play behind Reed and give Hunter Dickinson a breather and such? Is Terrence Williamson going to be able to do it? I don't know. Is he going to play the 4? He's kind of a small 4. But maybe Michigan will have to do a little bit more small ball. Go back to the John Beilein early days at West Virginia, where I think it was you had Pittsnagel. I'm maybe not saying that right. But one big man and you had 4 shooters around him. Maybe that's what Michigan's going to have to do. Michigan, again, this past year, if you knew it, they needed shooting, and they just didn't get it. So a couple names that I have heard, and it makes sense, is, of course, just looking at my notes, Joey Baker out of Duke. He's a grad transfer. Would fit in, I think, as a guard, shooting guard. And another one that just went in the portal today was Illinois, Jacob Grandison. And he averaged just about 10 points a game and just about 2 3-pointers a game and shot 41% from 3. Now, obviously, both those guys would take waivers from the NCAA. There's some speculation about how lenient the NCAA is about those. They need waivers because they did not enter the transfer portal before the cutoff day, right? I know back when Michigan had that, where our guard, he went to Arizona State, but he had to get into the transfer portal that day, or else he would have to get a waiver. Waivers are not impossible, right? Chauncey Brown Jr., he got a waiver from Wake Forest, so it's not like it's impossible. But Michigan does have now 2 scholarships that they are able to fill if they want. I assume they're going to be looking for some shooters. I don't know if they're really going to be looking for a big man or not. It kind of depends how Hunter Dickinson's doing in his conditioning. Is he going to be able to play 30 minutes a game, 35 minutes a game? Maybe. If he can, then okay. But then if he has a night where the refs are calling him for lots of fouls, and, he has to sit on the bench, then you're going with a true freshman, Terrace Reed. And, yeah, I still think Michigan needs to pick up a 4 or maybe a backup center, and then another shooting guard. So those are just my foolish thoughts. Not surprising at all. Michigan loses both Diabate and Houstan. I mean, if you would have asked me at the beginning of this whole thing, who would I think come back? I thought Houstan would come back. He would put his foot in the water, test it out, and come back. And I thought Diabate was gone. Surprisingly, Houstan is going first, most likely, and then Diabate is going to go undrafted. Again, it's all about potential. The NBA all cares about is potential. That's why they don't really like to draft upperclassmen, because you already know what they're going to be. You already know their faults. Potential is what sells. And Caleb Houstan, 3-point shooting, what the NBA is totally turning into. Mousa Diabate, power forward, low box-up game. Not so much of what the NBA wants. So it makes sense. The NBA is definitely more of a Caleb Houstan game than a Mousa Diabate game. Again, that's why Hunter Dickinson came back. Bigs are not that valuable in the NBA now. Sorry, off tangent there. Let me know, what do you guys think? Of the 3, who would you want to have back? Dickinson, Diabate, or Houstan? And are you surprised that both are leaving, or did you expect it? Hey, thanks for watching. And one more thing. If you have anyone else you think would be a good pickup for the Wolverines in the transfer portal, put them in the box below. I'd love to hear that. I'll maybe start compiling a list. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Until I see you next time, as always, go blue.